Virginia, the El Chapo 1969 Camaro for structural, mechanical, and Albert Racing engines. Jim Widener, left side, the Corvette out of Batesville, Indiana. Widener Automotive, Induction Solutions, VP Race Fuels, Holly, Ross, you name it. My man's got it on that machine left side. Jim Widener comes in, the number 11th qualified machine. He went a 371.0 in qualifying to land him there. Albert, number 6, a 368.3, and it's good to see Billy Albert making good laps again.
Scotty Gore, Billy Albert came out of the trailer this season, had the front wheels carried past the 330, and went his new career best run on the first run off the ramps for 2023 with a 367. We know this team can get down the racetrack. That structural mechanical hot rod is back in one piece after an unfortunate incident last season, and he is ready to chase a world championship here in Pro Nitrous. You got 2 engine builder owned or driven hot rods sitting on the starting line. Tony Bischoff, BES Racing Engines out of Indiana on the left-hand side. Right-hand side, Billy Albert coming in out of Virginia. So it's Albert Racing Engines versus BES Racing Engines right here in round number 1 of Schweitzer Dynamics Pro Nitrous.
Top bulb's lit as they push a little bit forward. Tree fires, here we go. Another red light, 015 red light, and man, Widener had his hands full going down through there. He does go at 371. Billy Albert out of power, but gets the win because Jim Widener went 015 red. Billy Albert was double 04 in that Stan Nance-owned Camaro going by the Christmas tree. So Albert going to move on to round number 2.
Billy Albert dodged a bullet right there. He was up on the wheel this morning, double 04 on the Christmas tree, but the hot rod ran into tire shake right past it. Billy Albert dodges a bullet, moves on to the round of 8 here in Pro Nitrous.
Mincer Motorsports Pro Street. Mincer Motorsports Pro Street, presented by AFCO Racing, will take you to the staging lanes for your first round of eliminations, please. Pro Street to the staging lanes at this time in Tyler. What a matchup we have right here. Right-hand side of the racetrack, Mike Achenbach out of Wind Gap, Pennsylvania. The deep purple 1969 Camaro for Canvas Plus. He comes in, your number 12 qualifier to 372.4. And then we have the boss man on the left-hand side, Tommy Franklin out of Fredericksburg, Virginia, the Jungle Rat 69 model Camaro for Franklin Electric. SmartCom Home Technology, Bickle built that machine, and Rogers Automotive on board. Tommy utilizing a Pat Musey 959 cubic inch monster underneath the hood scoop.
Scotty, you got a prime-time matchup right here. Left-hand side of the racetrack, the Jungle Rat, number 3 in the world last season. Right-hand side, your winner from last season, Mike Achenbach, took the win in this event last season, is looking to go back-to-back to start his season off, but he's got one tough customer sitting alongside of him on the First Federal left-hand side of the racetrack here at Galat Motorsports Park. It's Tommy Franklin and Mike Achenbach, the electrician and the mountain man. Both drivers getting the nitrous bottles exactly where they want them. Small purges on both hand sides of the racetrack as both drivers click it into low gear and move toward the pre-stage bulbs.
Tommy starts to ease forward, waiting on Achenbach. He drops it in gear and starts to roll.
Both drivers going to think about it. Achenbach goes in, Franklin to follow. Lights are down. Tommy Franklin with a reaction time advantage. Franklin driving away 3.68 seconds, 206 miles per hour for the Jungle Rat. Moving on to round number 2. Tommy Franklin was ready for eliminations. 008 on the Christmas tree. Wire-to-wire victory over Mike Achenbach.
And have you noticed, Tyler, some double O's in these pros today, man? They are up on the wheel. Maybe Sunday's good for them. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe the pro drivers are liking this Sunday eliminations program.
That's insane. I've never seen that many 00 lights in any round of pro competition that we've ever had. Maybe we can get our stat guy to go after it or something and see if that's actually something. So your best appearing car of the weekend comes up next on the left-hand side of the racetrack, and that's Marcus Butner out of Tobaccoville, North Carolina. The Butner Construction 69 model Camaro, Twin City rebar, Pat Musey horsepower, 973 cubic inches. That's the new combo that these nitrous guys are going to. 973 cubic inches, 6 stages of nitrous, maybe 7 now, who knows. He'll be up against Ed Burnley out of Pasadena, Maryland, the Ironman 1969 Camaro for Southwind refrigeration. And the best way to describe Burnley is a missile without guidance. This thing is unreal. When it goes, but when it has issues, it's usually all over the place. But we'll see if Ed's got it together here first round. He went a 72.9 in qualifying.
Scotty, like you said, it's been the tale of two hot rods. Ed Burnley had trouble in qualifying, got 1 clean run. Marcus Butner with 2 clean runs and a mid-track shutoff. Can Ed Burnley bring the run that we know he all has in the laptop? Can he take down your number 4 qualifier right here in round number 1 of eliminations? It's the 4 and 13 matchup when you look at the qualifying sheet, but all those numbers really go out the window. Completely different conditions that we qualified in. It's race day and it's Sunday. Marcus Butner, Ed Burnley, both drivers move into the pre-stage bulbs. Scotty Gore, who we got right here?
Man, Burnley comes around when the pressure's on. He lights the bottom bulb, ready to go. Here comes Butner, tree fires. And it's a red light for Marcus Butner. Look at the reaction time for Burnley. Don't tell me that man wasn't ready to go. 003 reaction time, 371.2 at 204.
Scotty, these Pro Nitrous drivers came to play this morning. We have seen 00 reaction times in just about every pair that took to the tree. Marcus Butner is 13 red, going 370. Ed Burnley goes 371, was right there. He gave a run on the scoreboard and on the reaction time that you had to get inside of. Marcus Butner knew that, pushed it just a touch too far, and turned on the red bulb.
And I tell you, that's the Ed Burnley that we know and love. Nobody on this property who's watched this whole event unfold would have given him a chance of making it out of first round after what we saw in qualifying where he struggled so bad, laid down 1 good lap when he needed to, got into the program, but then he goes out 003 and a 70. I mean, that's, like you said, tough to get around. All right, if you're on the starting line and not with the car that's running or on the chase road, we need you to back up. That is not a spectator area across from the timing tower. We need you all to back up and get out of the way. And if you're on the starting line with, I see Pro Boost people out there, guys that have already gone down the racetrack, we need you guys to get out of the way. Dangerous situation on the starting line. Not a safe place. Tyler, what a cool matchup this is. Dane Wood here on the right-hand side out of Chesapeake, Virginia. The Escobar 2012 model Mustang. Donnie and Julie Wilson, Purvis Ford. On board this machine on the right-hand side. And left-hand side needs no introduction. Ricky Smith out of King, North Carolina. The Parkway Ford PD Fleet Mustang.
You know, there's a lot of matchups we see in Pro Nitrous that are all Chevrolet matchups. Very rarely do we get to see 2 ponies battle it out. 2 Ford Mustangs, Ricky Smith and Dane Wood. 2 Ford matchups, 2 Ford dealerships as well. Parkway Ford's going to show down with Purvis Ford. Tricky Ricky Smith is known for playing the game on the starting line and getting it done in the very first couple of inches on the racetrack. So Tricky Ricky comes in. Your number 3 qualifier here in his 2023 quest for a Pro Nitrous championship. Dane Wood made 1 run down the racetrack that we were not expecting out of this hot rod that ended 2022 with a bang. Dane Wood, Ricky Smith, prime time matchup here in round number 1 of eliminations. Both drivers head into the stage beams, and we are about to see a show. It can be decided all on the starting line, and Tricky Ricky is known to play the game.
Wood in, waiting on Smith to light the bottom bulb. Now he starts to creep forward. Tree fires, here we go, and it's a red light start for Dane Wood. But again, a 003 reaction time for Smith. But look at that ET, 368.8 at 206.
Tricky Ricky Smith, 003 on the let-go, 3.688. Matching Tommy Franklin's run, Pat Musey power. holding low elapsed time of round number 1 so far with 2 hot rods going 368. Scotty, this is a matchup that has a lot of history. You got Jim Halsey and Cam Clark. Press rewind one year.
I was going to say, let's go back a year. Cam Clark beats Jim Halsey in round number 1. And this is rare in its own sense. Halsey's not your number 1 qualifier this weekend.
Exactly. We see, I'm not going to say we're seeing a change of the guard because he went 364.
Yeah.
But Jimmy Halsey comes in your number 2 qualifier and will show down against Cam Clark on the right-hand side of the racetrack. Cam, local North Carolina runner, took down Jim Halsey last season in this very race from the number 16 spot. Can Cam do it 2 years in a row, this time from the number 15 slot?
Yeah, Cam Clark from nearby Reidsville, North Carolina, the D&T Motorsports 69 Camaro. And what else can we say about Jim Halsey? That Fulton-powered 68 Camaro they call the Daddy Shark. Your 4-time back-to-back world champion has
Scotty,
had a stranglehold on this class.
Scotty, next time just say 4 consecutive because you're going to keep saying back about.
Yeah, I'm going to go back.
Exactly. This is not calling the home run derby. Then again, half the time Pro Mod Racing is like calling a home run derby.
We'll see who hits the home run right here. Now, Halsey looked to be on a pass to take the number 1 spot away, and it went up in flames. So we'll see if he's got something for Cam Clark right here.
And that's a good note to say, Scotty. That's probably a new bullet, or at least a rebuild bullet after Q3 last night on the left-hand side of the racetrack. Does that halter mess with Jim Halsey? Cam Clark goes in. Halsey, last to light the lamp. Here we go. Cam Clark turns on the red light. Jimmy Halsey knocks the scoop off of it, 3.670, but it came with damage. Jim Halsey, low elapsed time around number 1, but he paid the price when he did so, 367 at 201. But there is carnage on the Daddy Shark side of the racetrack, and a scoop has exited that Chevrolet Camaro.
Yeah, these guys going after those reaction time, they're actually both red. Cam Clark was 020 to Jim Halsey's 011 red. Halsey, though, with that 367, he wanted that ET, but as Tyler alluded to, that cost him as you watch the hood scoop take flight when they went through the traps.
Scotty, like you said, both drivers were red. Cam was red first by 9 thousandths of a second. Cam was slow in the 60-foot mark, and it stayed behind on the tires. You can see the check marks down on the right-hand side of the racetrack. But Jimmy Halsey is going to be one team to watch to see if they can make it back around for round number 2 coming up here in just a couple of hours.
Yeah, a lot of work going to have to go on in the Halsey camp, but they're professionals at what they do, so nothing new to them. They'll get it patched up and ready to go. Checking out the racing surface right now. Shouldn't be down too terribly long as our next pair already sitting behind the water box.
Scotty, that'll be our final pair in Pro Nitrous, and that'll come down to your local runner and your number 1 qualifier, the Pumpkin, Jay Cox.
What a weekend so far for him, picking up the number 1 qualifier with a 363.2. And you say, okay, well, he went fast one time. No, he went a 363.6 as well. That machine sitting behind the water box on the left lane is a missile right now.
Scotty, you make very, very strong points right there. Jay has looked really good this weekend, and I know Jay is coming into the season ready to chase a world championship with that Butner Construction hot rod. While we're down and while we have a quiet moment, Pro Street Cars, we need you to the lanes. Pro Street Cars, we need you to the lanes for round number 1. Pro Street, we need you to the lanes for round number 1. Fans in the stands, what do you think so far? Pro Nitrous has been one barn burner of an action. Your hometown runner, left-hand side of the racetrack, coming up next is Jay Cox. If you're going to pick a local favorite, the man on the left-hand side of the racetrack with the brightest paint job on the property will be your guy. He's from right up the road in Smithfield, North Carolina. And as you see the tractor down on the racetrack cleaning up all the remnants of Jim Halsey's scoop, we're going to get that cleaned up, make sure we're good to go, and then we will fire off our last pair of Pro Nitrous, and then we move into the absolute tightest qualified field we've had in a long time in Pro Modified Drag Racing, and it is none other than Pro Boost. Scotty, Pro Boost stole the show on Friday night with their qualifying sheet that had 0.06 of a second separating number 1 to number 16.
Yeah, we had, I think, either 25, 26 cars 26 take time in Pro Boost for a 16-car field. And, man, they showed out. What just an incredible couple rounds of qualifying we had there. And it's going to make a fun race day, I think.
Scotty, I know the bump spot was a 364 elapsed time. If you ran slower than 364, you did not make the qualified field. That's some astounding numbers that you normally don't see. I mean, sometimes number one qualifier is 364. This weekend, a 364 did not qualify in the field. So unbelievable performances out of our Pro Boost teams and all their tuners and all their hard work in the offseason. You can see all of our Pro Mod teams have really stepped up the game here this season, chasing a championship in year 10 of the PDRA.
Yeah, one car that did not qualify for the event, the Smokies Garage team. I spent a little bit of time yesterday in their pit area talking to Smokey and Scott Wilgus, and they were saying, Scotty, last year, I think they won a 66 in qualifying, didn't make the show. He said last year 66 would have put us up probably in the top 3. He said now we're going home.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, the performances of these cars is absolutely crazy. And fans, we are glad you've come out to enjoy it here with us on one beautiful Sunday afternoon.
It looks like just a little bit more cleanup. Unfortunately, when those scoops blow off those cars and bounce across the racetrack, it leaves fiberglass or carbon fiber shavings all over the place, so the tractor has to go down and sweep and drag. So we'll be up and running here in just a couple minutes. All righty. Things getting right up here in the announcer's booth. Just about ready. Looks like the tractor may be on his way back.
Scotty, the big orange tractor's getting out of the way. And the number one qualified big orange hot rod is coming into the water box in just a couple of seconds.
But I'm going to say it, dude. Don't ever count out Rob Honeycutt. I've watched him knock down some giants in the sport in Pro Nitrous before. The Hughesville, Maryland-based Black Hammer 2017 Mustang. Very capable. If Jay Cox messes up a little bit, Rob Honeycutt could easily go to the next round.
Scotty, we've already seen it thus far in round number 1. It just takes a thousandth of a second to make you or break you. And it's unbelievable that these cars and these performance levels are this tightly grouped all the way through the sheet. So like we said, it's your number one qualifier, your local hometown runner on the left-hand side of the racetrack, the Pumpkin, Jay Cox.
As Tyler said, Cox out of Smithfield, North Carolina, the Pumpkin 1969 Camaro, built from RJ Race Cars, got Pat Musey horsepower, Smithfield Collision, and Butner Construction. He won a 363.2 in qualifying to land him in the number 1 spot. Rob Honeycutt here on the right-hand side out of Hughesville, Maryland, the Black Hammer 2017 Mustang for Honeycutt Glass, Robert Toll Plumbing, Cliffs Heating and Air, and he utilizes Wilkins horsepower underneath the hood scoop of his hot rod.
Scotty, like you said, Rob Honeycutt is usually a very consistent runner. Consistency usually pays the price and makes a big difference in conditions like you're seeing right now. The sun's out, but the air is good. We've seen a 367, but it came with carnage. We've seen 2 368s out of Pat Musey customers. We'll see what Jay Cox has loaded in the Pumpkin. The RJ Race Cars built Chevrolet on the left-hand side of the racetrack comes into race day as number 1. The target is on the back of none other than Smithfield, North Carolina's own. And Rob Honeycutt is looking to take down your number 1 man. It happened in this race last season. Can it happen 2 years in a row?
Honeycutt in the top bulb waiting on Cox. Now he lights it. Couple inches more. He's staged up and ready to do battle. Look at the reaction times. A 002 to a 007. I swear I've never seen reaction times like this. 369.4 for Jay Cox picking up the win, but man, Honeycutt all but perfect on the starting line.
How do you like to be 007 in a pro mod and you are late? Jay Cox, 007 on the Christmas tree, had the horsepower, 369 at 206 miles per hour that we've seen out of all three Pat Busey hot rods. Going on to round number 2.
And now we're going to switch classes, move over to WS Construction Pro Boost presented by P2 Contracting and Tide Drive. And a competition single here in first round for Joe Albright. On the left-hand side of the racetrack, the Fletcher Cox-owned 69 Camaro for Cox Racing, DeSoma Race Engines, Pro Charger, VP, Glass Life Atlanta. He was supposed to face off against young Preston Tanner. Preston not being able to make the call here on Sunday morning, so Joe Albright will be on a single run. You can see Fletcher Cox standing out in front of the car, going to guide Joe up to the beams. They were your number 9 qualifier. They went a 362.6 in qualifying the other night. Big shout out to Fletcher Cox. Yesterday when we were unable to race, he helped organize a benefit golf cart race. A lot of money was raised for a great cause, and thank you Fletcher and the crew for helping out with that. So Joe Albright starts to ease towards the top bulb. Fletcher walks away from the car. Yes, he does. Makes that little Camaro look like a Hot Wheels car. 0.25 reaction time, 0.940 down low, but then had to abort the run. Coast through at a 473 at 107. Our next pair completing the burnout process. Randy Weatherford, right-hand side of the racetrack. That WS Construction 2021 Camaro out of Danville, Virginia. He's your number 10 qualifier. Went at 362.7, but everybody on the property going to have their eyes on the left-hand side of the racetrack in Spencer Hyde. The Jack in the Green Stock 69 Camaro picked up the big win at the World Series of Pro Mod. He comes in your number 7th qualified machine out of 361.5.
Scotty, like you said, Spencer Hyde has got a lot of attention over the last couple of weeks. He took home the win for Team PDRA, but I can tell you right now, Randy Weatherford's farthest thing from his teammate. Weatherford, the Proline Racing horsepower. Andy Beal behind the wheelie bars, getting all those checked out. Mark Savage against Steve Petty. Two of the best when it comes to putting a tune-up in a race car. Spencer Hyde had won a number of rounds off of the reaction time down in Bradenton. Can he do the same to the Butcher and Randy Weatherford in round number 1?
Top bulb's lit. Now Hyde's going to bump the bottom bulb on. Here comes Weatherford. Tree fires. Here we go. Wow. This is a pedal fest. Spencer Hyde, 4 flat, and it just continues, man. 004 reaction time for Hyde on the left side. Weatherford late at a 006.
Fans in the stands, sometimes they don't go easy. Spencer Hyde putting on a show, hiking the front wheels up, putting it on to round number 2. The Canadian says, hey, when the front end came in the air, and takes it to round number 2.
Liberty's Gears, Extreme Pro Stock. Liberty's Gears, Extreme Pro Stock. We need you for your first round of eliminations, please. Liberty's Gears, Extreme Pro Stock. And as the McKenzie brothers said, beauty, eh? All right, so here we go. Derek Ward, right-hand side of the racetrack out of Friendship, Maryland. The 69 Camaro comes in number 11 with the 362.7. Ward debuting a new machine here. Looks very similar to the old one here on the right-hand side. And Jason Lee, left side, out of Vernon, California. The Coast Packing Company 69 Camaro. PTP Racing, Pro Charger, Lion Noonan's, Alltech, and Quick Drive on board that number 6 qualified machine. He won a 361.5.
Scotty, one thing that we see about Jason Lee's 3 runs from qualifying, 61, 62, and 63. Derek Ward made 3 good runs as well. One being a 62 to put him into the number 11 spot. Derek had a wild ride in the shutdown area on the last run and had his hands full getting that blue Chevrolet Camaro stopped. We'll see what happens. Are the nerves still there? Jason Lee, left-hand side of the racetrack, long time wheelman behind a number of different race cars this season, back behind the wheel of Eric Gustafson's Coast Packing Company 69 Chevrolet Camaro, home base out of Vernon, California. But right now, it's the Ohio-based wheelman of Jason Lee going against Derek Ward from Friendship, Maryland.
Both cars easing into the bottom ball. Ward's ready, waiting on Lee. Here we go. Shake for Ward, but look at Jason Lee. 362.3 at 208. He was 932 down low and 020 going by the tree.
Jason Lee, 932 down low, Scotty Gore. That hot rod checked out, drove right through the little bit of tire quiver that it had by the Christmas tree and lights the lamp, going 362, setting the bar for everybody else sitting back in the staging lanes wondering what that racetrack will take.
Right-hand side of the racetrack, that's Mike Decker Jr. out of Woodstock, Maryland, the big change. 2017 Camaro for ISI Demolition, Decker Salvage, AutoFab Race Cars, JKR Racing Products. He's your number 12 qualified machine at a 363.3. And Ken Cortuccio, the serial killer, on the left-hand side out of Wallingford, Connecticut. 69 model Camaro for Eastside Transport, Proline, Menser, M&M, Carmack, and Fuel Tech. He's your number 5 qualified machine. He won a 360 with an 8 in qualifying, and he's been down the racetrack on every lap.
Scotty Gore, both of these cars come from the Northeast version of the country. They drove all the way to North Carolina to face off in round number 1. You hear Mike Decker, got the RPMs up, getting the engine temperature where he wants it, clears out. The WYO Motorsports Hemi between the frame rails. Todd Tutterow looking on, trying to keep his team members moving on, but he's got none other than Jamie Miller on the left-hand side of the racetrack, turning the screws for Ken Cortuccio and the Proline Power. You got Pro Charger horsepower, left-hand side of the racetrack, right-hand side, screw-blown Chevrolet. It's new model versus old model. Ken Cortuccio versus Mike Decker and Gil Mobley Motorsports. Another matchup that you're about to see right about now.
What a drag race. 362.5 for Ken Cortuccio, and he'll be your round winner. Ken, 014 and late, going by the Christmas tree as Mike Decker Jr. was 006. Goes a 367.2 at 209, just not good enough.
Scotty, we've said it already all the way through Pro Nitrous, and we're going to say it through Pro Boost. These drivers came to play on Sunday afternoon, and they know how important a win light is here in the PDRA.
All North Carolina matchup right here is Kevin Rivenbark. Here on the right-hand side, the Culp number 67 Mustang, owned by Stan Shelton. Shelton actually entered the car and then had some commitments he had to go to, so wasn't able to get behind the wheel. So Kevin, come on and do the job. Shelton Insurance, Shelton Real Estate, Proline, and Fuel Tech. He won a 363.3 in qualifying that landed him in the number 13 spot. And Jason Harris, left side, out of Pittsboro, North Carolina, the Party Time 69 Camaro for Performance Auto, Sometime Racing, Hoosier, M&M, Walker Napa, Proline Racing, Fuel Tech, and Pro Charger. He qualified in the 4th spot, won a 360 with an 8. Jason Harris has this boost car running. Made some noise down in the Winter Series in Florida. Kevin Rivenbark probably has more laps down this place than anybody.
Scotty, here we go. Kevin Rivenbark turns it 008 red. Rivenbark throws away a 364. We're at 8,000th red light. Jason Harris on to round number 2. 3.639 out of the Pro Charger Power. The Pittsboro, North Carolina business owner moves on to round number 2.
All right, going to take just a moment out and check out the racing service. Looks like they're picking up some tiny pieces and parts out there, so it'll be just a minute till we get back up and running here. But man, I am impressed with the way our drivers showed up today with these great reaction times. I mean, Rivenbark right there, 8,000's too quick. Knew he had to be on the tree. We'll get the racetrack back in shape and back up and running here momentarily. Final call for Liberty's Gears Extreme Pro Stock. Final call for Liberty's Gears Extreme Pro Stock. We need you to staging for your first round of eliminations. All right, so the tractor's on their last pass. We'll be back up and running here momentarily. Drag 965 Pro Nitrous Motorcycles will take you to the staging lanes. Drag 965 Pro Nitrous Motorcycles will take you to the lanes. Rob Cox and Johnny Camp. Johnny on the left-hand side of the racetrack out of Cannonsburg, Pennsylvania. The 69 Camaro they call Hell's Bells. Tapeman Electric Company, Proline, NGK, Fuel Tech on board that machine that comes in the number 3 qualified position. He won a 3.590. And Rob Cox, right-hand side out of Michigan. The Cox Trucking 2017 Camaro for Modern Racing, Elite Motorsports, and Type A Motorsports. Rob won a 363.3. That was only good enough for the 14 spot on the ladder.
Scotty, these two drivers showed off and ran each other during Boost Wars on Friday night. Johnny Camp took home that trophy so far this weekend. Camp now eyes his first PDRA 660 man of the 2023 season. Your number 3 qualifier comes in with a 3.59 second blast to put himself in a position to have lane choice here in round number 1. We've seen the right lane have a touch of issues, and then we've seen the right lane haul on down through there and be fast. Rob Cox, the Modern Racing Camp, is looking to take down Johnny Camp. Sometimes we call it an upset. As close as this field is, I don't think it's an upset of anything. 2 Pro Charge Camaros. One, a first gen. The other, a new edged, new model Chevrolet.
They start to ease into the top bulb. Those drivers ready to do battle here. Camp, 005 tire shake for Rob Cox, but look at Johnny Camp, 362.4, 925 down low, 243.8 through the split, but was 005 going by the Christmas tree.
Scotty, that's a dangerous combination when you can light the lamp going 362 in the middle of the day and be 005 on the let-go. Johnny Camp continues his quest to claim a Pro Boost Championship here in the PDRA, and he starts it out with a bang in round number 1 of Eliminations here in the season opener.
And our next pair completing the burnout process, and what a storyline here. On the left-hand side, you have your number 2 qualifier, and Travis Harvey in the Galat Motorsports 69 Camaro for Proline, Fuel Tech, VP, and LAT. He won a 358.9 that landed him in the number 2 spot, and as we alluded to earlier, he's doing double duty, running Pro Nitrous and Pro Boost here this weekend. But on the right-hand side, Kurt Stedding out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the P2 Contracting YO Motorsports tie drive machine. Kurt has Todd Tutterow as a crew chief. Todd Tutterow's coming off a world championship last season here in the PDRA, and Kurt is starting the day off from the number 15 position with a 364.4 in qualifying.
Scotty, one name you are normally not used to seeing on the bottom side of the ladder is Kurt Stedding. You are definitely not used to seeing that name in the number 15 qualified spot after 3 rounds of qualifying. Stedding made 3 consecutive laps down the racetrack, but so did his opponent, Travis Harvey in the Glot Motorsports Proline powered hot rod. These 2 drivers and these 2 hot rods are 2 of the best in the business, and they are the 2 and 15 matchup here in the season opener. Can Kurt Stedding and Todd Tutterow rain on the parade of Travis Harvey trying to take 2 cars to the round of 8 in the 2 toughest competitive? Never mind. We're just going to stop.
And it's going to be Harvey as red light for Kurt Stedding, and he goes up and smoked through the traps. 360 with the 9 for Travis Harvey. 0.43 going by the tree, 9.26 down low, and a 2.42.8 through the middle.
Kurt Stedding knew he had to be good on the Christmas tree. He was double 0.2 on the red side. Looked like he might have lost a little bit of an engine right there on the right-hand side of the car. Had some smoke out of the right Zoomy. But he's got some time to fix it before the PDRA Mid-Atlantic Showdown. Travis Harvey, one impressive run, 360 at 210 miles per hour to go on to round number 2.
Yeah, Travis and that Galat team have looked flawless so far this weekend. We'll see if they can continue. And we're checking the racing surface after seeing that smoke out of the Kurt Stedding machine. So, and we're good to go. So our next 2 fire up. And it's going to be Kenny Lang and your number 1 qualifier, and Melanie Salemi up next. Kenny Lang on the left-hand side, the Miller Welders 1969 Camaro for NGK Spark Plugs, VP Race Fuels, and Crew Chief by Al Billis. Right-hand side, Melanie Salemi out of Buffalo, New York. Girl Power in the 2019 Camaro, your number 1 qualifier for Ali Installations, Liberty's Gears, Quick Drive, Ross Pistons. She went a 3:58.0 in qualifying to earn that number 1 spot. New sponsor on the door for this machine, Steady Eddies for Melanie. But Tyler, we've seen most of our people with lane choice pick the left-hand lane, and Melanie over here on the right. What do you make of that?
John and Evan Salemi must see something that they like. On the Walker Napa right-hand side of the racetrack here at Galat Motorsports Park, your number 1 qualifier picks the right-hand lane. So we've seen some cars have trouble. On this side of the racetrack, the screw-blown Chevrolet now packing on the screw blower. Last season was packing with the Roots combo, moves over to the screw-blown combination, and still continues the performance levels that they had last season. Number 1 qualifier coming in, your 1 in 16 matchup, and your number 1 qualifier as it takes the right lane that surprised all of us here in race control.
Melanie utilizing the Goodyear Eagles Hoosier tires for Kenny Lang. So let's see right here. Lang lights the top bulb. Melanie in the top bulb as well. Lang moves in. Melanie moves in. Here we go. And we got a pedal fest. Win light goes to Melanie. 4:01 at 188, 4:10 for Kenny Lang, and Melanie got left at the starting line.
Scotty, you could see the fans in the stands stand up on both sides of the racetrack saying, oh boy, they both got in trouble at the same spot in the racetrack. Kenny Lang had 3 numbers off the Christmas tree and almost pulled off the upset and sent the number 1 qualifier packing. John and Jim Salemi will go back, look at the data that they learned off of round number 1, and get ready for round 2.
So now we're going to move over to our Menser Motorsports Pro Street cars presented by AFCO Performance. 10.5-inch wide slick on these machines, and you'll be impressed with the numbers that they can lay down. Jerry Morgano on the left-hand side was supposed to face off against Chris Tootin. Tootin not making the call. Davis Plumbing helping out Tootin's effort, but they just couldn't get up here for first round. Jerry Morgano, left side out of Apollo Beach, Florida. The Copperhead 2002 Mustang for DeSoma Race Engines. Bullseye Turbos, Atomizer Fuel System, Menser Motorsports, Hoosier, Fuel Tech, Liberties, and Visner Engine Development. He went a 4:36.2 that landed him in the number 8 spot in qualifying. Morgano gonna probably throw the kitchen sink at it right here to see what it'll hold. And he knocks the tire off. 0.89 reaction time, and then had too much loaded in it. Another competition single here. Bill Devine was supposed to be on the left-hand side of the racetrack in that Mustang. He's not making the call, so Joe Thomas out of Charlottesville, Virginia, the American Dream 67 Chevy 2 for Concrete Mafia. Design Electrical. He'll be on a solo pass right here. He won a 4.36.0 and a 4.37.8 in qualifying, so a very consistent machine here for Thomas. But that car very capable of dipping down into the low 4-second area. So keep your eyes here on the right side. You hear Thomas building the boost as he starts to pull into the beams. Joe Thomas on a great pass right here, first round. 4.22, his fastest attempt this weekend at 181 miles an hour. Great lap there for Joe Thomas in that Chevy 2.
Scotty, you really saw the suspension go to work right there. That car got the front end up in the air, carried it out as the boost came through. The Proline power between the frame rails. Joe Thomas, 4.22, nice consistent lap to move on to round number 2 here in Pro Street.
Two Pro Charge cars coming up next. Joe Winsley Jr. on the left-hand side out of Dearborn, Michigan. The 2014 Camaro was your number 6 qualifier. He won a 4.14.7. And Ron Green here on the right-hand side out of Chesterfield, Virginia. The Green Brothers Racing 2000 Pontiac Trans Am for DeSoma Race Engines and Pro Charger. Ron did great in testing. Ron didn't have those results in qualifying, unfortunately. He won a 4.69, was his best effort. But this car here on the right-hand side, very capable of running alongside Joe Winsley's machine there left side.
Scotty, Ron Green's a veteran in the class. Had an unfortunate accident with this car a couple of years back, ended up putting it back together, ran over on the drag radial side of the world for a little bit, saw the success of Pro Street in the PDRA last year and said, man, I got to go chase a world championship back in a class that I used to race years ago and saw a number of successful events at. Ron Green, your number 11 qualifier, like Scotty said, struggled in qualifying, but that does not show the true potential of that good-looking Pontiac Trans Am. On the right-hand side of the racetrack, both cars relying on a Hemi platform between the frame rails. Chevrolet Camaro, Pontiac Trans Am, both are in the pre-stage bulbs, and it's time to go drag racing on 10.5-inch wides.
Side by side they go. Top end, it's going to be Ron Green. And look at that, Tyler. 4 flat with a 4 at 191 miles per hour. 4.093 for Winsley on the left side at 188.
Ron Green fought that hot rod going to the left all during qualifying. He still went to the left-hand side of the racetrack, and he said, this is eliminations. I'm not giving it up. Best run for Ron Green since being back on 10.5s. 4 flat in the heat of the day here at Galot Motorsports Park.
And you just said it, in the heat of the day, that's a strong performance for any team in this opening round of eliminations. We're going to come up next with Jesse Lambert on the right-hand side out of Warrington, Virginia. The Cutaway Creations 04 Mustang. J&E Automotive and Performance, Cameron's Torque Converters, Atomizer. And this is a cool matchup for a couple different reasons. Number one, Jesse Lambert here on the right-hand side, no wheelie bars. We're used to watching Jesse carry this thing through the traps on the wheelie bars with the front end hiked up, but they've changed a number of things in that machine. And then on the left-hand side, we have Bill Lutz. Bill Lutz brought that machine down here on an open trailer.
A real open trailer.
Yeah, you don't see that.
This hot rod was down in the Carolinas getting rewired. Didn't tell anybody. Had some big-time drama posts on Facebook. Bill Lutz rolls in on an open trailer with a CIA Performance Chevrolet Camaro, screw-blown hot rod. You can hear it coming through your speakers at home on FloRacing or right here live at Galot Motorsports Park. And Bill Lutz has a tough customer. Number 5 in the world from last season, Mr. Jesse Lambert.
Turbochargers here on the right side. Big old blower sticking out of the hood of the Camaro. Nobody wants the stage. Lutz goes in, waiting on Lambert. Lambert tickles the bulb. Here we go. Jesse tried to recover there. Goes through the traps at 194 miles an hour. Unfortunately, lost too much when it struck the tires. Bill Lutz, 426 at 182, moves on to round number 2.
Lutz makes his first run to the finish line with an all brand new combo and a completely rewired car. Makes one qualifier to the 330, comes back and moves on to round number 2 with a 4.265 elapsed time.
M&M Transmissions Pro 632, we need you. Pro 632, we need you for round number 1. M&M Transmissions Pro 632, we need you. 2 of the best-looking Pro Street cars side by side here first round. The Camaro of Nick Agostino on the left-hand side. The Cannoli Express for M&M Transmissions and NASA Competition Engines. He was your number 4 qualifier to 4:06. And Eric Pagliuli here on the right-hand side. The 2003 model Lightning for the Sonny's Racing Engines. Turbocharged machines on both sides of the racetrack.
Scotty Gore, you know I'm a 69 Camaro fan. When it's painted in gloss black, it's even more my kind of style. Nick Agostino all the way from Canada. Small block horsepower between the frame rails. Yep, that's right, race fans. That's a small block, but it's not your conventional 350. That's a big-time bore space, 496 cubic inch small block with twin hair dryers sitting right above the front wheels of that gorgeous 69 Chevrolet Camaro, but he's alongside the Ford Lightning pickup truck that is always one to watch when Pro Street comes up. Both drivers go to the 2-step. You'll see them bump in with a turbocharged power. Agostino's in. Pagliugli almost rolls the beams and goes red. Nick Agostino gets a break. Pagliugli turns it red by 007. Agostino was asleep. Both have traction issues. And Nick Agostino moves on to round number 2.
Next pair completing the burnout process. John Carasini here on the right-hand side at a Port St. Lucie, Florida. Jet Clean Car Wash. 2002 Corvette comes in the number 14 spot. But boy, did he have a tough draw here first round. Your reigning world champion sits on the left-hand side of the racetrack, and that's Tim Essick out of Port Tobacco, Maryland. The Brown Sugar 2018 Mustang for Essick Motorsports Pro Charger, UPR, Atomizer, Fuel Tech, and PRS. He was your number 3 qualifier to 4:032.
Scotty Essick came out of the box in his normal, consistent fashion. He's got his hands full with John Carenzi. Carenzi hasn't made a full power pass yet here this weekend, but that team is always one to watch. They used to race on 10.5s a lot back in the day. They swapped it up, went over to radials, and now they're back on 10.5s. John Carenzi, definitely not a car you want to be parked beside in round number 1 if you're Tim Essick, especially because he hasn't been down the racetrack. You do not know what to expect. Essick has to come to the starting line loaded for bear. Can the world champ move on to round number 2? We are about to find out as it's Ford versus Chevrolet. Chevrolet goes to the 2-step, builds a boost, and lights are down.
Good looking side by